When change is not enough, what do you do? You're listening to the Be Forever Cool podcast. My name is Rex45. We're continuing in this off season, which really isn't an off season, to continue to talk about some of the MotoGPs of yesteryear. So as we dive further in 2007, I'm excited to continue to talk about this. So with no further ado, let's bring the guys in and see what they've been up to this last week. TJ, man, welcome to the show. How you doing tonight, man?
Doing great. Can't complain. Besides just knowing that we're getting more daylight every day, getting closer
Mm-hmm.
to this bike season.
Okay. That must be exciting for you. I mean, you didn't mention the Patriots or anything. What's going on, man? You getting nervous?
No, man. No. The Patriots, we're doing great. Two more.
All right.
So let's see. We'll see if we can pull it out. But we're looking really good. I like it.
Yeah, my daughter's a Bills fan, and she was not happy this past Sunday. So it is what it is. But it's like I told her, it's tough to root for certain teams.
Yeah, somebody has to go down. There's some good football this weekend, but just cross my fingers. Patriots still in it. So yeah, sorry for your daughter, but Patriots on their way.
No doubt. Lewis, man, welcome to the show, man. What's good? How you doing this week? I heard about fire trucks on racetracks or racetrack.
I had an interesting week this weekend, so I spent the last 6 days down at Homestead. I went down to the Yamaha Champ School event for 2 days. And then there was 2 days with N2 track days, and there was 2 more days with the Yamaha Champion Riding School. So 6 days in total. Weather was pretty good for the most part. It was a little cold one morning. We had a couple of flashes of rain. If you know anything about Homestead, if you've ever ridden there, if it rains there, get off the track. Don't go back on until it's completely dry, because that place becomes an ice rink. I actually had somebody crash in front of me. His back tire just nipped the blue paint, completely went around on him, high-sided him. Wasn't a good look. And then directly after that, when they were cleaning up the aftermath, there was some miscommunication between the corner workers, the emergency service, and I guess the track marshal or somebody. And somehow the track marshal let the advance group go out while there was still a fire truck between turn 5 and 6.
So that's the kind of red flag you want to see coming around a turn.
Good thing is that the advanced group with N2 is a lot of quality riders. Like you had a lot of fast guys. You had Tyler Scott there. You had Blake Davis. You had Stefano Mesa. Like you had a lot of really good riders, and they were right at the front of the pack. So when they come around 4 and 5, I mean, those guys are looking way downfield. And as soon as they came around 4 and 5 and they looked down and they saw the red flag, everybody put their hand up, foot out, let everybody know they're getting off pace. And luckily, disaster was averted. But man, some of these tracks just need to get their coordination together, man.
Right. No, I completely agree with that. Let me bring everyone in. Let's see, what am I doing wrong here? All righty, let's do that. Yeah, guys, you want to talk a little bit about that as well, TJ, man? I know you saw some things as well. We've been at the track enough that we see some craziness.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I just saw a post on Instagram, just following posts going along, and I saw a fire truck in the middle of a racetrack, and I didn't realize it was at Homestead this past weekend. But it just brings back, seeing footage like that before, where riders just know when they go on track, they just think everything is clear. So praise to those riders that saw the danger and slowed down so everyone behind them, follow suit. But, it's the communication is key. I mean, I think thankfully that, our organization, NEMAR, we got a actual racetrack so they can see high above, but the communication has been really good there. So I'm just happy about that too. So.
it is an actual racetrack, TJ. I don't want people
It
to
is.
sit here and say Homestead
No,
is
no,
a
no.
track.
Homestead is an actual racetrack, yeah, but communication is key for sure. I haven't been down to Homestead yet.
Definitely communication is key, and it happens. And it is the first round of the season and stuff like that. So I don't think these are normal mistakes and stuff like that, but they do happen. And fortunately, no one got hurt, and it was handled in a good way. It's I guess the only thing that comes to mind is why is there a fire truck and there were no ambulances and unless the ambulance is already in use.
Ambulance was actually already rolling, taking the person off the track. The fire truck was kind of just following up, so they had two vehicles out on the track.
Gotcha.
The ambulance was already evacuated the guy, and the ambulance the fire truck. It's kind of like a fire truck, but it's not a full fire truck. It's like a F-350 with like a fire truck rear end.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And they were just kind of like pulling off the track, and they were just checking to see if there's any debris or anything, stuff like that. There was nobody on the track, but yeah, again, there was a big miscommunication between the corner worker, the track marshal, and the EMS or emergency services that were there. So again, like you said, it's the beginning of the year. Probably their first event. I'm sure they probably had some turnover over the winter, so there might be some new people. And, this is the time to get the cobweb out. Thankfully, nobody was hurt. Nothing was bad. Like I said, the guys at the front of that group were all quality guys. I mean, they're Moto America racers, like guys that have been around a long time and guys that use their eyesight to look way down the track. And, now you know why you look way down the track, even when you think it's a clear track.
Right.
Never take for granted. I've seen people hit deers because they didn't look down the track. They came around the corner, and when they look from this cone here and look there, there's a deer standing in the middle of the track, and they're like, oh, damn, deer. Too late.
Yeah, that's the worst. But let's dive into this craziness. I guess the first thing I'm looking up because I got my video game up and there's a race happening now, and it's hard to sometimes look away. But let's talk about the rumors again, man, because it is a podcast and we have to address some of it or maybe start our own. Some crazy rumors. I mean, we see what's going on with Aprilia. Aprilia is coming out saying Ducati is a German brand now, and it's not an Italian brand anymore. I mean, the workers are Italian, but the agreement
is German.
Of corporation and stuff like that, and who owns what, obviously. Yes, the money's German.
Well, let's put it this way. Most of the money in Europe is German because Germany is the most powerful country in Europe when it comes to financial. They're financially the most successful company in all of Europe.
Right.
It's not their fault that they bought Ducati because the brand couldn't exist on its own. It's not their fault that they bought all these other brands. It's not their fault that they had Volkswagen and it's one of the biggest car manufacturer conglomerates in the world. Like, it's not their fault they're successful. It's a little salty of the Roman emperor to kind of say that about Ducati, but then again, he's paid by Aprilia. He's an Aprilia ambassador. He works kind of with Aprilia. So, sometimes he likes to throw a little shade. I think it's a little bit irrelevant. It's an Italian brand. The bikes are made in Italy. Even if the financing and some of the management is overseen from Germany, I just think it's Biaggi just throwing some shade, talking Biaggi shit like Biaggi does from once in a while to kind of make himself relevant and put his name in a news cycle. The Noale group, the Aprilia guys out of Noale, they're Italian or they're just as Italian as the Ducatis that are there. I think it's a big. It's nothing, I don't think the official Aprilia channel will say that. It's just Max Biaggi that happens to be associated with Aprilia with saying that. But again, man, it's kind of it's not a big thing. There's plenty of other bigger rumors and things going on, and that'll kind of wash itself out of the news cycle in like a week.
Gotcha. Anything you want to add to that, DJ, before we jump into the other ones? As far as like whose contract for 2027 and 28's already been locked up?
I was gonna say who asked that question about the last thing you said, just to spark the controversy. I actually don't really
Nobody
matter.
asked him.
And
He just made the statement. Somebody put a mic in his face and say, "Hey, you want to say some dumb shit?" And he was like, "Yeah, I got some dumb shit to say." That's it.
But yeah, I think some of these riders definitely should try to start locking in to see where they can fit into these new contracts. Like I think we were talking about it before, is we don't know when they're gonna start like actually putting the foot down and start signing people, signing riders. But as far as the rider goes, I think you should just be ready to get that contract and not wait to the end.
Right. Yeah, from what I've heard, and I think Lewis is probably closer than mine to the ground, but it sounds like Marquez is wrapped up for 27, 28. Sounds like Costa is another one that seems to be locked up as well. It sounds like the German brand ain't messing around.
It sounds like they're not messing around, but Marquez is definitely the first person you need to get locked in. If you're Ducati, that's the first guy you got to get locked in. Before you do anything else, you got to make sure you secure his services. I don't think he wanted to go anywhere anyway. He just wants to make sure that the number keeps going up every year. And if the number keeps going up every year, then he's more than happy to stay on the most competitive bike on the grid with one of the most prestigious teams on the grid right now that's actually really investing in motorcycles. And on the back end, he's part of the Audi group as well. So now he gets to keep driving really nice Audis, and maybe once in a while, maybe he'll get a Lamborghini or something that's also part of the Audi group. So it's not a bad gig to have. When he was at Honda, he would get a Honda Civic. Now with his Audi, he gets something really nicer than a Honda Civic.
Well, I'm at the Type R, man. Don't do that. Don't do that.
And Acosta, there's a couple of rumors on Acosta. The VR46 team is saying that they already have their riders for next year locked in. But then 2 days later, they're saying that they might sell the team next year. So it's hard to believe what they're going to say, because is VR46 actually locking some guys in? Or are they looking to sell the team? Or what are they doing? They're kind of all over the place. They're scatterbrained.
Well, I would say they're not. I mean, I heard that, and also, Rossi was gonna stop racing cars and focus on this team, and he just came out that he signed a read up another deal with them. So I don't think Rossi's trying. And they just opened up this, and more than I do, the Dainese Vibe store in not is it Emilia? Roma, right? Yep. So he's definitely trying to do the Jordan thing. On that scale. So I can't imagine leaving MotoGP would be good for his brand anytime soon.
Yeah. No, he's always going to have some sort of footprint, but let's say they can get like a bigger group that wants to invest heavily, so they don't have to constantly be like the main backer, or they don't have to look for certain partnerships to float it. If they can find like a really, really strong sponsor to come in and collaborate with them, I think that's really what he probably wants to do more than anything else. Is I don't think he wants to sell the team. I don't think he wants to be out of racing.
Right.
But I also think he would not mind a little extra financial support from some bigger sponsors. Because right now,
he wants that sponsors. Deal. He's like, listen, Ducati Factory can sign Furman Alligator. Why can't Ducati Factory sign somebody for VR46?
Yep. So yeah, it's a possibility. Who's going to pay for who? Who's going to pay these guys contracts? I don't think that we're going to see the same two guys in 2027 on the VR46 team. I don't think, unless Morbidelli does an incredible season this year or Digio season. I really don't think either one of those two guys has a guaranteed home at VR46 come 2027.
I would say there's one seat available. Who's going to get it? I would say I think it's, but I can see them getting rid of both. But Morbidelli's really good friends with Rossi, so I think he'll probably get another year or two, but not both. I don't see both. But I think Digio will land a good home somewhere, because he's been more consistent as a rider than some of these other riders in 2026-7.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him on a KTM, because I don't think Brad Binder will be around come 2027. So if Brad Binder leaves, like, that's definitely a spot where I can see a Digi going to KTM.
Right.
Who do we see going to VR46 though? Like, no, Rossi got his riders up in his back pocket. He's not trying to disclose anything really, but
if the rumor is true, supposedly like Acosta's already on that spot.
Yeah.
If the rumor is true, that Acosta's already on that spot, like one of the 2 seats in 27 will be for Acosta, which will make the Ducati team super strong, but it'll make the Ducati team more Spanish than it's ever been. They'll actually have more Spaniards on Ducatis than Italians.
Right.
Like, I think if Pecco stays, he'll be, I think, the only Italian, like true Italian, on a Ducati. Because you'll have Mark, you'll have Furman, you'll have Alex, you'll have Acosta. Morbidelli, he's Brazilian. He just happens to reside in Italy. But like a true born Italian, it'll only be Pecco.
Well,
But I thought Valley wanted only Italians on VR46.
He also wants to make money. And if you can get
it's coming down to that, I guess.
For a long time, Ducati always, their thing was they always had to have one Italian on the team.
Yeah.
But now they got Marquez, and he's making them a lot of money, bringing them a lot of attention. They're like, the bike's Italian enough.
Yeah. And if KTM played a little bit of ball back in the day, he would have been already on VR46 Academy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, KTM's going to kind of block that from happening. You got to pay me everything. Pay everybody if you want them.
Yeah. And then the other big one that I heard today was like the Pramac boss is kind of throwing the Ducati factory team under the bus, saying that they had a verbal agreement to give the spot that went to Marquez to Martin. And Martin thought that he had it. And that's why when he found out that Marquez had it, he kind of just was like jump ship completely and went to Aprilia.
Yeah, I mean, I probably that makes sense. You know how I feel about it. I don't get cash. I think from a we'll talk about it in 07 and even 08 and other years, like they were loyal to a lot of dudes, but like for some reason Pecco and Martin, they kind of like
Well, you know what it is Martin has not shown himself to be the most loyal guy in the world. So I don't feel bad that somebody's not loyal to him either.
Okay.
And Reese will tell you this. In racing, you will get promised the world. Until it's on ink and signed, it doesn't mean shit.
Right.
But I know a lot of racers that were promised this, that were promised that, they were promised this, they were promised that. And when the day showed up, there was no contract, there was no ink on the contract. And they ended up standing there with no ride or no this or no money or this and that. Like until it's in ink on paper, it doesn't mean squat.
Right. But why punish the folks that have, for lack of a better word, outsmarted the big guy, right? The Martin, where it's in my contract. I mean, I'm not breaking my contract. It's in my contract. We see that with other players and stuff like that they got the right deal, but no one else can get that deal after them. And then their chances get pushed out of the sport, so they don't make the money either.
I mean, it's a dirty business, man. It's a business. It's a sport, but every sport that makes money goes from being a sport to being a business. If you're playing baseball and you're 13 years old, you're playing a sport. If you're 22 years old and playing AAA baseball, it's a sport leading to a business. Once the business side gets involved, it's a whole different ballgame, man. I hate to say it, but it gets real dirty.
Oh, no doubt. We're definitely seeing that. Reese, man, welcome to the show, man. We're past the rumors part, so let's, now it's time for you to tell us what you know. What's happening in the world of motorcycle racing in your neck of the woods, man? How are things, man?
Man, everything is good, man. Just day 1 of testing, day 2 tomorrow. So that's about it. I mean, ready for the season. Nice. 2 riders. You'll hear the announcement coming here soon.
Okay, all right. No butterflies, no nothing. It's just, just riding off the same energy as last season.
As one crew member said, same team, same crew, same goals, better vibe.
Okay, that's what's up. I say, hey man, it got to be. So that's what's up. All right, man. So I see you're not giving us much until things come out. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
listen, man, that privacy note is big. He got a zip.
You know, I gotta order my T-shirts, man. I'm trying to figure, on the people on the back.
Privacy note, man. You gotta. Yeah, I don't know what you talking about.
No doubt, no doubt. So what do we say? What are we hearing? Like in a couple of days, we'll hear something, or end of the month.
No, I would say here maybe what's today? Today's Tuesday. I maybe say either sometime later this week or maybe beginning of next week.
Is that Jack Daniels in that cup you drinking?
Nah, I know Jack Daniels. That's a protein shake. I'm trying to keep my protein up. I'm trying to keep my weight up.
We tried. Oh man,
old age kicking in.
Well, it happens.
We'll catch it up to Lewis.
It's not a good thing.
How was you were on track? So what was that like after? I don't want to say dusting off the cobwebs, but
it was different because again, this is only my second time riding this motorcycle after, close to 20 plus years of being just Suzuki all day. Analog Suzuki at that, like no, just a quick shift and nothing else. So the first session, just going out there and just looking at the corners, understanding the corners, everything like that. You can look at a track map all you want. You can look at video all you want until you feel the asphalt vibrating through the bike into your hands and kind of get a feel for how much grip the asphalt actually has and all that. That video is good for reference, but it really doesn't mean anything until you actually experience it. So the first couple of laps were good, just understanding the line, everything like that. Trying not to get anybody's way. The hardest thing, man, is just judging distance and timing. Like, it's not like I forgot how to ride. It's not like I forgot how to shift or brake or lean or take corners. It's always about distance and timing, getting your eyes and your body to understand in how short a distance can I stop from different speeds, because the longer I stay on the gas, the shorter I'll be on the brakes. So how long can I stay on the gas and still be able to brake with the shortest amount of brake? So, and some corners are entry corners where you want to carry more speed into the corner, and other corners are exit corners where you go in slow so that you can come out a lot faster. And an R6 has a different gear ratio than a Gixxer. So, I go into one corner, one turn, third gear. Nah, it's not enough juice. I got to go down. Go into the same corner, next turn, second gear, still not enough juice. I got to go down again. Go into that same corner, first gear. Now I'm coming out, and now I got a short shift because I'm starting to wheelie as I come out, but I'm getting the drive I want. So it's all that, man. But I enjoy that. I enjoy that, systematic way that I go about breaking down tracks and how to find my fastest way around. Because
right.
I can hit the apex, but my fastest way around, because the way I ride might not be the fastest way somebody else use it, but it works for me. And
the weather good there?
It was good until the afternoon. The one afternoon it poured, and one of the mornings it was cold. It was like 35 degrees in the morning. I was like, yeah, I'm not even putting tire warmers on for this. I didn't take the bike out of the trailer that day. I worked that day. Second session out was doing better. Lined up with the first group that went out, so I can kind of see what the guys in front of me are doing and see where I can find my way through. And then the last session was really good until I started seeing a couple of drops on my visor coming down the front straight. Started seeing more drops on my visor through 2 and 3. And that already kind of had me like, all right, when I come around here, I'm just going to put my foot up and hand out, because I don't know what turn 5 and 6 are going to look like. And that's like a long double right-hander where you're kind of motoring through on the side of the tire, giving it some gas. And I didn't hear great things about the rumble strips at Homestead. I heard that they were it was a mix of paint and Mazola oil, because they said if it rains, don't touch those things. Yeah, and sure enough, I'm lined up behind a guy. I'm coming around the double, but I slowed down a little bit. And the guy's rear tire just touched that blue line in front of me, man. The dude high-sided right in front of me. Luckily, I've been doing this long enough where I didn't just stay looking at him and run him over. Like I put my hand up, I put my foot up, I let anybody behind me know I'm coming off pace in case they're looking at my ass instead of looking in front of him, so that they know there's something there. And I avoided hitting him, avoided hitting the bike. Nobody else hit him. Thank God, nobody else hit the bike. But it was just one of those things that I was like, you know what, man, I'm gonna go have lunch. And then after that was it, man. I went out one more time, and I still got a lot to learn on an R6, man. An R6 is a much different animal than a Gixxer.
Oh, you actually came over to the good side. You left that.
Hey.
Somebody owed me money and they gave me the bike.
you left the squid side.
Somebody owed me money and they gave me the bike. And after I put that much money into building it, I was like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, you got it, man. They're nice bikes. Oh, no,
they actually, I never said a bad thing about R6. I still think for a 600, the R6 is probably the greatest 600 that has ever been built. Hands down, no other 600 can touch that bike. And I'll go back to, I don't know what year it was, but I think it was Cal Crutchlow was one of the last guys to win. Because for a long time, Honda was dominating World Supersport for some reason. I don't know why. And Cal Crutchlow took a 2-year-old bike that nobody had used that was an R6, and he went out there and won the championship just to show you how good that platform was, that a 2-year-old bike would go out there and just clean up. And to this day, if they didn't stop producing the R6, I think the R6 would still be winning World Supersport. Hands down. I think the R6 would run circles around the Ducati V2 and it run circles around the R9 all day.
Yeah, you got some points there, no doubt, for sure. It's a nice bike, so I guess you won't be getting a V2.
Nah, I ain't getting no V2, man. I like bikes that when I crash them, I can find the parts in the paddock and not have to order them from Bologna.
Fair enough. Speaking of, let's jump into the 2007 season, guys. We'll get an overview from each of you of what you thought. We coming off of 2006 where Casey Stoner won it. Pedrosa was able to finish second overall, beating Rossi out. You got Hopkins and these guys are starting to come into their own in 07 and stuff like that. And then so we get into this is 06, so we get into 07 with Ducati. Casey Stoner left Honda, and he's now on a Ducati for the first time and stuff like that. So we'll go around before we dive deep into it, man. We'll start with TJ. Looking at 2007, what are your thoughts, man?
I mean, the dogs are coming out. These new guys like Pedrosa. I mean, Stoner's been out there, but like Rossi has, he's the top guy. He's the one. I mean, I know Nicky Hayden just won the championship, so you're looking at some guys that can be up front. And man, Casey Stoner, that guy, did not expect him to win over 10 races. And there's one thing that was pretty cool. Like, I think he started a trend. Like when he was winning Grand Prix, he just wheelie going down the straight. And then towards like the end of the season, like everyone started just wheeling across the line as they were finishing. So
man, that was happening.
I know that was happening, but I feel like I seen it way more this year. And it needs to come back because now I see it's just like the first place guy or the second, and then everyone else is just finishing because the times are so close. But it was just cool to see. I thought it was a pretty good season. He definitely dominated.
Right. I guess I should say Rossi was doing it because he was doing most of the winning for some years. What are your thoughts, Lewis, on overall season going back into the fog cabinet for 2007, man?
It was a great season. I don't think it was like one of the most competitive seasons outside of the top 3 or 4. The competition level, I'm not going to say the competition level was low, but there was so many retirements. Like, there's dudes that didn't even finish half the races in the season. There was a lot of guys that would like have maybe one or two spots of bright light and then just disappear for the entire season. Suzuki, even they came in fourth in the championship. John Hopkins had the consistency of oatmeal, like just not good at all. Outside of the top three, everybody else was kind of just fighting for anything off the podium. And then the other thing that kills me about this season is this is one of those seasons that I'm like, man, this could have been a Danny Pedrosa season. This could have been a again, the greatest rider to never win a championship, hands down, Danny Pedrosa, man. I don't think there's anybody else that is as good as him that never won at least one championship. It's just the dude came in at a time where it was just sharks, and every year more sharks joined in. Yeah. 2 years from now, you're gonna have Jorge Lorenzo join in, another shark, and then a couple years from now, you can have Marc Marquez join in, another shark. It's like Danny Pedrosa just came in at the wrong time, man.
Yeah, we're gonna talk more about that wrong time. We're gonna give Reese some time to talk about it. I mean, you heard Lewis there talk about it just didn't feel right, but as we're gonna talk about, and you're a technical guy, tire manufacturers mattered in 2007 because them boys on their Michelin's, boy, you know what I'm saying? The bike mattered. We saw a lot of jockeying for positions as far as who wanted to be on Honda, who wanted to be on Yamaha. No one really thought, even though 06 and 05, the Ducati was winning, no one thought Ducati was going to dominate the way it did. How did it look to you for 07?
I mean, no one thought that Ducati would dominate the way they did. I mean, and I say Casey Stoner was one of the only ones that could ride that Ducati the way it was ridden back then. And after that, it was just like even Rossi couldn't ride it. I mean, it was just amazing how Stoner rode that bike. And, the season itself was great. The riders were good, and I 100% agree with Lewis. Pedrosa just was one of those guys that was a hell of a rider and just couldn't win a championship, just couldn't get over that last freaking hump just to win it. And it's just sucked. I mean, and then you had all these other guys coming in, the aliens, as you call them, just here comes one, here comes another one, here comes another one. And it just sucked to not see him get it. And he should have won it. But the level of riding that was there at that time was just phenomenal. It was an absolute, because it was not even, think about it, it wasn't that much electronics. So everything that these guys had to do was in the twist of their wrists.
Right. And tire choice. Let's talk about it, because Pedrosa was upset that Honda stuck with what they stuck with. And, we saw that with Rossi. That affected him in, I believe, in 06 as well, with his struggles. So, I mean,
right.
I don't know where they were getting the rubber from, but man,
from a rubber tree, I guess. I mean, rubber does play a big factor in it, because you got to go from tire temp to track temperature, air temperature. There's a lot of things into it, and then you're taking the core temperature of the tire when it comes in to see what it drops. You got to understand that tire is going to spike to a certain temperature as you're sitting on a tire warmer. But as soon as that tire touches that track, it's going to drop.
Right.
It's going to just drop completely. But then as it goes around a couple of times, it's going to go back up. But you want it to go back up to where you can see it, and you look on the data, you can see a consistent temperature all the way through.
Right. What are your thoughts on that, Lewis? And I want to add something else as far as, you talk about the season. I mean, Tony Elias had some good races. Barros had some good races. Colin Edwards had good races. Hoffman, some of these guys, Ant West. I mean, they had flashes of like, oh man, but not to sustain the whole season. I think that was the biggest thing. But what do you want to add about tire choices and just how we can see where MotoGP has just gone to one brand, so that way teams can't really say it's the shoe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at this season, Okay, across all the races, there were only 2 races where everybody that started finished. After that, there were 52 people or 52 times riders did not finish races when you put all the races. So there's only 2 races where everybody finished, and there's at least 3 races where 5 or more people didn't finish. So this is a lot of retirements. And then if you look at almost all the guys that are retiring on a consistent basis, they're on this one particular tire that's not a competitive tire.
Yeah. By a lot of seconds.
So that's a lot of, that's a lot of body work because somebody decided this tire company is paying us a little bit more money than this other tire company. So we're going to stay with this tire company. But then at the end of the season, what did you do for your team? If that other company might have been charging more for the tire, but look at where their guys are finishing. Look at how their guys are finishing. And look at how many times we're picking the bike out of the kitty litter and changing body works and clip-ons and swing arms and everything else because these tires suck. And there's a positive and negative to that. And, Reese could even tell you about this. When you have a single tire manufacturer, that means that you don't have any options and you don't really get contingency from that tire manufacturer because that tire manufacturer is paying the organization to be the spec tire. And then each of the people that are using that spec tire have to buy that spec tire. So now the tire manufacturer doesn't have to work with the teams to negotiate either a deal to pay them to use the tires or negotiate for better pricing. This is the pricing. Everybody pays it because they know that you're a captive audience. You have to use that tire.
Right.
And, so when Dunlop is the official tire of Motor America, they pay Motor America a good amount to be the official tire. And they, obviously there's contractual agreements. They're going to be at every event. They're going to bring this many tires. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. But then every guy that goes to race a Motor America weekend needs to show up with, what are you talking about, Reese? $6,000-$7,000? In your case, probably a lot more because you're going through a lot more tires than, somebody that's only doing 3 or 4 events the entire season.
I would say about that.
Yeah.
I mean, we show up with a couple $1,000 each, season for us. So tires.
You got 2 bikes, you got 2 riders, you need I think it's 7 tires a weekend or 8 tires a weekend, 2 qualifying.
Yeah.
Like what's the minimum? The minimum that you can purchase from them? Because I know there's a minimum and then there's a maximum also.
I think the minimum is 7. I mean, we have gone through almost 20.
But there is a max. Like you don't get over a certain allocation. So you got to make them last too. But think about it. So now this company knows that they're going to make this much money on tires. They're going to get this much free R&D. They're not going to have to negotiate with any teams. They just connect with Dorna. They give Dorna a nice little pot of money. Dorna makes them the spec tire. So it does take away from the ability for the teams to make some money. But again, if the tire manufacturer is allowing you to make more money, but you're finishing in last place, if you finish, if your rider survives the season without killing himself, I mean, the Pugne this year had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 retirements. Carlos Checa, 5 retirements.
Yeah.
Kenny Roberts, 5, 6 retirements. Loris Capirossi, 4 retirements. I mean, even Valentino Rossi had 3 retirements, and Danny Pedrosa had 3 retirements. The only guy that made it through the entire season, I think there's only like 3 guys that made it through the entire season without either without retiring or without withdrawing for whatever reason.
And just think about it. These guys are getting tires that you can't even purchase over the counter. Yeah. These guys are getting asymmetric tires. You got a medium compound on one side and then a soft compound on this side and then a different compound in the middle. Yeah. You're getting a different compound where like we here in America, we'll just get one compound.
And this was at the time that even on the street, if you had a 2 compound tire, you were pimping. You got that
right.
If you had
you were buying the Michelin 2CT,
the Michelin Power 2CT, 2CT, you got 2 compounds. Damn, he's a baller.
I got hard in the middle and soft on the side.
The good old days. So in 2006, Stoner finished 8th. In 2007, he wins the first round of Qatar in fashion. He struggles in the second round. Rossi bounces back. I think throughout the season, Rossi gave him a good fight, but I think this is the first year, I think, since Rossi started winning the championship that somebody actually, challenged him and beat him. I mean, it's fair to say, where, in 2006, you can kind of say that, he crashed out when he was up 13 points in the last race. Where this one is clear. Like Rossi ended up finishing third in an overall championship and well past 100 points. What are your thoughts on what Casey did with Ducati with those wins? I mean, we saw Rossi obviously have 13 wins. I think in 05 or 04 with Yamaha being close for a manufacturer. Now Casey does it, and he's only 2 years in MotoGP. Pretty impressive. What are your thoughts? We'll start with TJ.
Yeah, like coming from Honda and going to Ducati, like right off the bat, like Casey looked really good, and it was just impressive what he was able to get out of that Ducati because a few years back, they were just obviously they started in 2003, but they was slowly improving. But for him to just dominate the way he did, and I just remember, I forget, it was the race before that he won it. He just already had the mentality where like all the stress was off of him, and he was just ready to just go out there, and he knew it was just going to happen when it happened. But just to put Ducati on the pedestal the way he did, like it was very impressive to win over 100 points. With it had the pressure on him. Like Danny Pedrosa was pretty much on his ass like every race. He got caught out a few times, but it was also Rossi in the mix and Melandri. But I feel like Stoner was very impressed with that Ducati is pushing forward.
Yeah, I agree. Pretty impressive. What are your thoughts, Lewis, on that? And even just, you think about like before like Melandri came into MotoGP and Hayden, it was like all the old dogs that were like up at the front. And then, it was just kind of like these kind of guys were getting on the podium. But with Pedrosa and Stoner, it became to be like, the young guns can come and do this more often. And we saw what Stoner did.
I mean, the first thing is, you're only 4 years into the Ducati era in MotoGP. They've only been a manufacturer for 4 years. And there's other teams that have been manufacturers for a long time that are still looking for the next championship. They haven't won championships in a long time. So Ducati came in with a bike that to this day, everybody will tell you, other than Casey Stoner, nobody would go fast on that bike. It's just his riding style was just the perfect flat tracking, able to slide the rear tire, incredible, like just a natural talent that you can't teach because nobody else can win as many or as consistently as he won. So that was the first thing. And then just having, him come into this and Danny Pedrosa come into this and all these young guys that are now feeding up from the feeder series. Because that was the other thing is a lot of the guys that were established in MotoGP weren't necessarily all coming up through 125 and 250. There were some, but not all of them. A lot of them were still coming from World Superbike. A lot of them were coming from British Superbike. A lot of them were coming from other Superbike championships. And this is, I'm going to say it's the first, but it's the first of the new generation of feeders directly from 125 and 250, where it's like, hey, Danny Pedrosa won on a 125. Danny Pedrosa won on a 250. Casey Stoner won on a 125. Casey Stoner won on a 250. So this is where, like, I feel the feeder series of MotoGP starts to really elevate the quality of the riders, these young riders, because MotoGP no longer has to look at World Superbike. They don't have to look at the USA or all these other series. They're like, hey, a lot of these kids that we're nurturing in this feeder series are actually now coming to this class and making an impact. And, if you look at it now, outside of Top Rack, I don't think anybody else is going to get into MotoGP from World Superbike. And I think if not for Top Rack's one, his talent, but two, his ability to bring fans, because I think that's a big part of why Top Rack is in MotoGP. Because being from Turkey and having this entire Muslim population following him, I mean, as an owner, even if you finish in 9th place every race, I'd still hire you if I was MotoGP owner. You know why? Because you're opening up to this giant new segment of the industry that nobody's catered to. And now I'm the only one catering to it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we saw how many Japanese were in MotoGP back then to compare to where we are now, and it's almost like a lifeline. So that's definitely different to see. Reese, man, I mean, we saw, a second-year guy win the championship. You got to assume Marquez is looking at that as a young kid saying, maybe I can win it my first year too, right? I mean, it's what we're seeing these days. What are your thoughts?
I mean, definitely he's probably looking at that coming up. I mean, if you watch, I can't think of that movie. I think it was like, Hitting the Apex, when they was like, there's a young kid coming up, and he even said he used to watch Rossi. He idolized Rossi. He idolized these guys coming up, Stoner and all that, watching these guys. So to him coming up through the Moto 3, the Moto 2, and the 120, all that, the feeder system, he was aiming for that, and then his dad groomed him, and he just was that good. I mean, you watched him in Moto 2 come all the way from the back and win the championship. So he was already groomed from that feeder system to do what he can do in the GP era. And to watch a guy like Stoner, come in and dominate, like Lewis said, there was nobody that could ride that bike like a Stoner. And he was the only one. So to see somebody like a Marquez come up was just something we haven't seen in a long time.
Right. And, let's talk about the electronics a little bit, because, we say these young new riders take away the electronics and they couldn't ride the bike. I mean, we got young Nicky Hayden, we got young Pedrosa, we got young Casey Stoner. We had young dudes riding with no electronics, a little no electronics. So is it really, and this is the same system that these guys are coming up in, these new guys. I mean, so is it fair to say that these guys couldn't, learn to ride without the electronics like the way these guys used to in the past?
I can't say something.
You can't.
I can say a lot.
Go ahead, man. I'm asking you, man. So go ahead.
It's going to take a whole different talent for them to learn that.
Okay.
Like, you got to think about it. We now have ride height device. We have electronics for traction control. Pretty much all these kids do now is twist the throttle and go. That's a lot of what they're doing. Twist this throttle and go. That's like if you actually listen to the guys besides a Marquez, besides, I think it was maybe Quattro, not Quattro. Yeah, Quattro.
Acosta's using
when they were. No, I'm saying, but when they were talking about Top Rack.
Oh.
When they were talking about Top Rack coming in, a lot of the guys said, it's going to be hard for Top Rack to come in and learn the bike and learn the tracks and learn certain things and do this. When Marquez was like, all he has to do is learn the tracks.
Yeah.
That's all he really has to do. Because if Top Rack, he's coming from a background of stunt riding. They don't have electronics. They don't have all of that. All they have is their wrist. That's all they have. They have their wrist and their foot for the brakes. That's all they have. So they know how to back it in. If you ever watch a flat track rider, they don't have the electronics. They just learn how to slide it, back it in. They learn how to control it, and they're comfortable with it. That's why like a JD, a Gagne, a Cameron, all these guys that were flat tracking, they enjoy it. They are comfortable when it comes to that, they're backing in. They're comfortable with it. A lot of these new guys, they just want to twist the throttle and go as fast as they can around the track. So for a guy like Top Rack coming in that doesn't need the electronics, doesn't need all that, and he's very good at speaking to the crew chief, he's good at speaking to the crew, I think we're going to see that phenomenal rider come back into the series that us as the older generation, myself, Lewis, you guys, we're going to see something that we haven't seen in a long time. The new generation, like, I don't know what this is.
Right.
Yeah,
No doubt.
I definitely can relate to that. I mean, like, just like riding with a quick shifter on a track. I was bred into that. Like I rode with just regular shifting. Now I got my R6 and it's GP shift and it's a quick shifter. One time my quick shifter failed and I had to use the clutch going around. And I could tell you, I got off the track because I was like, yeah, I've got to fix my clutch shifter.
It's like
I know. I know. I mean, I still obviously, if I had to, I can. But got to use what you got, and I know that it will take a lot of muscle memory to switch to what you're explaining. Because it might work the first couple weeks, and then you might just have a week off, and then you go back on, and then that one slip up. So.
It says a lot about your rhythm being off, right? Because that one little thing makes you feel like it's taking you 10 seconds, and it's really not what it feels like in that moment.
Because it took me a while to get used to a quick shifter, because I'm used to just floating it, like just let off just a little bit and just click it in the gear. The same thing you do in a car. You can float a gear. I can float a gear in a truck. I can float a gear. Now you got a quick shift. I could just stay on the throttle and just click, click, click. Oh shit! I could just come, So I don't need that quick shift. I'm so used to it, but the quick shifter makes it so much easier and that much precise. But it's like, so you got to like train your mind, train your muscles, and like, okay, I got to switch this up.
Lewis, I'm sure you want to add something before we get into Valentino's woes, which I didn't realize he had. But he had tax issues back in the day. But anything you want to add about the quick shifter, since you were riding the R6 this past weekend, you had your Translogic installed?
I tell you what, man, I would have disconnected it if I could have, because I would have gone faster just blipping myself, man. Like legit one. It's I came up without a quick shifter. Like my quick shifter was blipping the throttle and shifting, blipping the throttle, shifting, blipping the throttle, shifting. Like I did it myself. We didn't have fancy things like round tires and shit. We
air brakes.
So we, I grew up at a time and I came up at a time we didn't have any of that. We didn't have fuel injection. Everything was carbureted. We had to take our carbs apart all the time and rejet them and do all this stuff to try to get them to run right, because we didn't have fuel injection. We couldn't just hook it up to a computer and drop a file, and all of a sudden my, throttle response is crispy. Nah, man, I had to go in there, I had to pull the wires, I had to change the jets, I had to do all this crazy shit to get like 1 horsepower and just to make it smoother. So I don't know, like I think some electronics are important, because especially as electronics that add to safety, because you can't ride a 200 plus horsepower motorcycle without traction control. You can't ride it safely. Let's put it that way. And if you couldn't get the most out of it possible, because you need that, because you're as good as you are in your throttle, a computer is always going to do that extra little bit and sense the front tire overspinning, sliding at the lean angle, blah, 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 blah. Like, we don't have as many high sides as we used to have because of this. But
electronic saves you on tire bills.
Yeah, but with that said, as soon as one of these new boys with all this fancy electronics, as soon as the electronics break, they get off the track. They don't know what they're doing. And that's when I'll come by and I'll blip, 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 downshift, 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 brake. And be like, why are you going so slow? Oh, your fancy shit broke. Don't depend on your fancy shit.
Wow, man.
Or one of them malfunction. That's when it's to the moon.
Yep. If you ever played the old world Superbike game, in the old world Superbike game, you would have to complete rounds with something broken on your bike. And you would have to figure out how to get around the track with something broken on your bike. And sometimes it'd be that your tire wear is really bad on the left-hand side. So when you go to do left-hand turns. So if you find, for you guys, the old World Superbike. I think for me, it was like my first World Superbike game. But they would have different problems, and you would have to learn how to ride around them in the game.
I don't think
And it was like, oh, this is like real. For me, it was like, oh, this is real shit. Like sometimes you are out there and the side of your tire is a little messed up. So you got to like, can't lean too much on this side. So I got to make it up on this side.
Right. That's why the R6 is the perfect bike.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Rossi. You know, Rossi, he fought for that 07 championship, but I didn't realize he had issues, taxes, and the Italian media was on him and stuff like that. I forgot that he lived out in the UK for a while, so maybe because he was a UK boy for a little bit, he was starting to think he was proper or something like that. You know, what are you guys' thoughts on that? And also, you know, towards the end of the season, he broke his right hand and still raced. Didn't have to, but he still went out and still had bike issues, which is, you know, you think the hand is the thing that's going to make you pit. Let's start with TJ.
Yeah, I mean, so I probably didn't listen all the way through to know about all the taxes and all that crazy stuff. But I mean, can you not see it coming? This guy's been winning every year. Somebody wants a part of Rossi, you know. So,
listen, them dudes in the commentary box, man, they can run their mouth. Man, all you gotta do is just listen. They tell you everything.
They be saying some good stuff, man. But yeah, I missed that part. But yeah, he had some woes this year. I mean, like with the bike and just performance overall. It was just I guess Casey Stoner just took the win. Like it just wasn't those years that Rossi can pull the magic out of the hat and say, "Hey, I'm gonna come back from way back in the pack and do my magic and still have my problems in the background." You know, so it all caught up to him. It seemed like it, and he still fought really hard. He still got his wins. But he had some. There's one race where he was unsure of his tire after switching to, I think, range or something like that, and he pit back in, and it was just like, it was just a lot of problems, you know, that hasn't been used to. So.
Yeah, I think absolutely it was a lot of problems and not used to. And I mean, I think the tire was a big deal. I think in 06, I think they rode around the Yamaha issues, but in 07, you know, where he could be in 13th place and still win. I think he was fighting for like fourth. In 07. You know more about this than the rest of us, I'm sure, Lewis, with the tax issues and what went down. And I mean, at this point, he's 28, 29. So, I mean, I don't think I knew I had to pay taxes at 28. Well, I did, but you know.
You knew.
I knew.
You knew, or the government would remind you. You know what? Tax issues are a really unique thing, not just here in the U.S., but in Europe, they're really, really unique because, for instance, in Spain has a really, really high tax rate. That's why a lot of the Spanish riders move to a certain part of Spain, which is outside of the normal tax zone. So this is why you'll get right now, you know, Jorge Lorenzo this past week spoke about one of the reasons he retired is because he had these tax evasion charges on him that were actually like causing him a lot of stress. Like he was so stressed out about going to jail, about possibly having to pay $100 million in penalties and everything else that will weigh on you as an athlete, you know. So for Rossi to have this over his head while he's having issues on the track, while he's, you know, going through this other thing, these outside distractions are heavy. And what it is if you move from your country, just like here in the US, if you move from your country to another country and you change your citizenship and you're making all your money in that country, your birth nation can't get that much taxes. But in Italy, just like in Spain, unless you completely denounce your residency, your citizenship, no matter where you go in the world, you got to send a check back home. And so the Italian, you know, government was like, hey, you know, this guy made this much money between here and here and here and here, and we're not seeing the right amount of income. And even though he's claiming his residency is outside of Italy, he still owns property in Italy. You know, how do we know he's actually living there all the time? Because again, you could be traveling back and forth, have your house here, have your house there. So the Italian government and the Spanish government does this too. Like they're always looking at high profile people, unlike here in the US, where if you're a billionaire, you don't have to pay shit. But if I owe you $50, you're going to kick my house down and drag me out of my house in handcuffs. It's fucking crazy, dude. Like Elon Musk, I think pays like $8 a year because he technically doesn't own anything. You know, he doesn't have any money. All his money is in monopoly money in finance. It's in the ether. So, you know, he doesn't pay taxes. I don't have that. And at this time, you know, like right now, Rossi's also recently, it's come out a lot that him and his father have had a big break in their relationship over money and over management and over contracts that were signed a long time ago. And this is, again, this ongoing thing where the business side of this sport can get really, really dirty if you don't have the right people in your corner going through these contracts, reading them, understanding what they're doing. Like, and then you get a lawyer to watch that accountant. And then you get another lawyer to watch that lawyer. And then you get another lawyer to watch that lawyer that's watching that lawyer that's watching that accountant. And then you get another accountant to watch the accountant. Because it's like, if something, yeah, because well, the thing is, when you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, if I make 5% disappear, you might not notice it. But 5% of $100 million, I just made $5 million just by, I'm just going to put this in this account over here. Here you go. You know, $5 million just disappeared because I hit a 3 instead of a 7 on the account number. You know, so you gotta watch yourself. And when you put this as part of an athlete's everyday thing, like an athlete doesn't want to deal with this, man. I have to work out. I have to stay in shape. I have to go ride a motorcycle. I have this other thing to do. And I'm expecting that these people that I hired to do this thing that I'm asking them to do for my finances are going to do the right thing for me. But as soon as I turn my back, they're stealing from me. They're putting me in financial risk. They're not doing the right thing. They're not paying the bills. They're not doing everything that I really hired them to do. And I think this really weighed on him that year. And, you know, once you get this monkey off your back, you'll get better. But, you know, if you've ever had any legal issue with either the government, especially with the IRS, man, you could kill somebody and get away with it. You don't pay the IRS, your ass is going to jail. You know, ask Wesley Snipes. So I think this all kind of did also hurt him this season because he did not have that swagger. He wasn't as strong in every round. And I think he was just a little bit mentally worn by the end of the season. I'm sure he was happy to see it end. And in 2008, they came to a settlement agreement where he paid off a big lump sum of money, and it kind of just washed everything away. It got him back into the graces of the Italian people, because that's the other thing. If you don't pay your taxes, the actual fans in Italy, they'd be like, oh, wait, I love you, but you got to pay your taxes. Like, not like here, man. Here's this whole other game.
So was it like a few years that he didn't pay, or is this like every year?
I believe it was 5 or 6 years of revenue that he had to pay for. So I think it was from 2002 to 2007 or 2000. Yeah, it was like several years that he had to pay. It wasn't just 1 year. And I think they ended up settling because if they had actually gone to court, he could have been on the hook for over $100 million. And I had to say, you know, everybody thinks Rossi is a billionaire. The dude's only worth like $250 million. If I got to give half my shit, I mean, at that point, get divorced for your wife, because if you're losing half your shit.
Yeah. So basically, he was paying something, just not the extras or something like that.
Not what he should have been paying as a citizen, because he was trying to use this tax shelter that he lived in England.
Yeah, so somebody told him, like, yeah, you put this address like New Hampshire, you know, people be
register all your shit in New Hampshire. You don't pay taxes.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So 2007 is the the end of Burroughs. Checker, I believe, in 2007 is heading out. Roberts Jr. Is heading out as well. So, again, with the changing of the guy, Caparossi, I think he's going to Superbike at the end of the year at this point as well. And these are guys that were, I mean, they Caparossi was in MotoGP for like 18 years.
Yeah.
These guys are around for a long time, where we don't see that as much now. We had a period of time where people were coming in and out. Also Kawasaki was looking good. I mean, 2007 was a good year for Kawasaki. They signed Hopkins for 2008. Suzuki's looking good. Grassini is kind of Grassini. Pramac is kind of Pramac, not like all these other three names kind of thing. So we're seeing the changing of the guards of riders, but also teams and manufacturers around that time frame. Before we get out of here, let's just talk about that a little bit. These other guys outside of the top dogs that are paving the way, and now we see Suzuki's been able to obviously win a world title.
Yeah, I mean, like seeing Suzuki, I think it was Brno. They got. I'm not sure if it was that one, but
I think there was like three. They got 3 podiums in 07.
Yeah, so they did pretty well, and also like you said, Kawasaki. And I just wish like somehow they can find their way back into MotoGP just to get all the manufacturers in. But yeah, like these older riders that were in the game for so many years definitely paved the way for us. And as you see, like the competition, as like we were mentioning, like every year there's a new shark coming in, so like it burns them out, So like Caparossi in 07 actually had a couple victories, or I think he got one victory on Ducati. He did pretty well. So yeah, it was just, I know for you guys just watching them all the time, it's like sad to see them go, but it's like me watching Alicia Spargo, what I'm saying? And it's like or it's just like what's the name of VR on VR46? Can't think of his name right now.
Which one?
Your guy Rexy.
Morbidelli?
Morbidelli, yeah. So like, or even Jack Miller and all these guys. So for me, those guys, like, they paved the way, and it's like hard to see them go when they like finally leave, So
Right.
It's kind of really important to the history that they brought out.
Yeah, I agree, because we see these names now when they show up in the paddock and stuff like that, or they're working for teams and stuff like that, and they'll rattle off their stats, but it's one thing to hear the stats, and it's another thing to go back and watch it and see what they actually did and how they did it.
Nice, for sure.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Lewis, on these other guys?
I mean, the rest of the guys outside of the top 3, I mean, this is, we still have a good amount of Americans in the class. So, I was following it because we did have a good amount of Americans in the class. I was looking forward to seeing where John Hopkins was going to go. Definitely looking forward to see, what Nicky Hayden was going to do following up, what he had done the year before. Colin Edwards was still Rossi's teammate, still on a Yamaha. This Colin Edwards is like a true and blue diehard Yamaha guy. I think his entire life at this point. I mean, I think the dude is just tied to Yamaha at the hip. Just another guy.
I mean, even his ranch now. His ranch now is Yamaha's.
Yeah, it's a Yamaha. Yeah. So, and we still had Curtis Roberts, and we did have a wild card with another Hayden, with Roger Hayden on a Kawasaki.
Yep.
So we had that American feel was still there. We still had a good amount of Americans, but then outside of that, like Christopher Mullen is a guy that I really liked. Honestly, I think he had the coolest Shoei helmet design.
All right.
for the longest time. I just liked his helmet, man.
That and the fisherman cap.
Yeah. I just like the dude's helmet and everything else. So that's one of the reasons I followed him. I didn't know he was Australian or anything. I just knew he had a cool helmet. Marco Melandri was a guy that I also liked, mainly because of his wife. He was only 4'2", but his wife was like 17 feet tall, and she was hot. Wait, like out of it. If he wasn't famous, no chance he's got with that. None, bro. But I was watching because every time she was like holding the umbrella for him, I was like, it looks like she's holding her child. He looks like he's 7 years old.
What's crazy is like, you would see Caparossi and some of these guys who haven't won that many titles, but have, podiums in a stretch of like 10, 15 years. But then you look at, is it not Melandri? And I think it's Melandri. He got like 18 podiums in like 3 years or something like that. His stat was crazy because he got a lot of, 18, 20 podiums in a shorter period of time than some of these good lifers.
Yeah, but he came in. He was, Loris Capirossi. I mean, he's at this point he's kind of like a internal MotoGP legend. He's actually, I believe, he works for Dorna as like the safety
Yeah,
advisor
safety.
or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So like he's just one of these guys that found a career in motorcycle racing that leveraged his talent. But even he would tell you like his talent did have a cap. There were certain tracks he was really good on. There's certain bikes he was really good on. But Marco Melandri, I mean, he was a killer, man. He came in as a killer. Like from the lower classes, he was already a killer. He just needed like the right team and the right bike. But it was crazy that he came in and in such a short period of time, even though he never won a championship, he made an impact. He was competitive at the front of the spear. He wasn't, competing for 9th and 15th. He was always top 7.
Yeah, he was one of these guys that was pushing Rossi early on, at least for some races, not a whole season like Casey did, but definitely some rounds.
I think a lot of these Italians really, as much as they admired what Rossi was doing, were always also looking at him as the target. So you have your target on the track, then you have your target within your teams, and then you have your target nationally. So like the Americans were probably looking at Nicky of like, hey, if I could beat Nicky, at least I'm the fastest American. If I'm on a Honda, if I could be Nicky, I'm the fastest Honda. If I'm an Italian, it's the same thing. If I could be Rossi, I'm the fastest Italian this weekend. If I can do this, so there's all these little championship and mind games and competitiveness at this level, man. These guys are all racing for something. Like they all have their own championship going on in their head,
Yeah, no, for sure.
But it was great to see, like, all the faces that were here. Alex Hoffman, that guy had been around forever. Carlos Checa left here and went to World Superbike and started a second career that went on for a long time, and he did a lot of great things over there. Tony Elias, he stayed in the paddock for a long time. Eventually, he got demoted, but Tony Elias is the first Moto2 champion ever. He actually ends up being the inaugural Moto2 champion with his crazy riding style. It turns out it was perfect for Moto2. It just wasn't great for anything else.
Yeah. So he goes
right here.
So he goes
dive bombing
in whatever 2011 or whatever, right?
Yeah. So there, even though some of these guys are leaving the paddock in the next year or two, they still go on to have great careers other places, like they don't just leave the paddock and disappear. Like, Alex Barros, he's going to have World Superbike. Colin Edwards, he's never going to win a race in MotoGP, but he stays around long enough where he can retire with a big fat check. Loris Capirossi ends up working for MotoGP. Melandri leaves, goes to World Superbike, becomes super competitive in World Superbike on the Aprilia as well as on the BMW for a long time when BMW first launches. All these guys leave here and go somewhere else. Anthony West is going to have the coolest paint job for a long time that everybody's going to want to replicate on a bike. Michel Fabrizio, he's going to go on to be the guy that takes more people out in World Superbike than anybody that's ever existed. He's got like another whole career that he's got going. They don't call him the human torpedo for nothing, bro. Michel Fabrizio.
I mean, Lewis is right, though, because if you look, they said Miguel Oliveira had the fastest time out of all people right now.
Yeah.
In World Superbike?
His World Superbike.
Yeah, he's the fastest guy out there.
I can see that.
So he could have a great career over in World Superbike.
Yeah. So, again, this is how you kind of cycle out of MotoGP. Back then, you still could have another career. Now, when you cycle out of MotoGP,
you just dead.
Depending on your age, you're over, man.
Yeah. It's. I think for the young guys that got flushed out and were able to go to World Superbike and salvage a career, for lack of a better word, did really well. I think the older guys, you're like test rider material at best right now. And you look at, Danny Pedrosa, he could have gone to World Superbike and didn't, right? And he decided to be a test rider instead. So we definitely see that. What are your thoughts, Reese, on 2007 series while you were off air? We were just talking about, what Suzuki was able to do, what Hopkins, some of these other guys that were starting to show, have some good rounds and, salvage themselves and looking to make a 2008 impact. What are your thoughts on Hopkins and Edwards and Nicky Hayden? I mean, he struggled even though he won a title the year before.
I mean, with these guys, the Americans, I mean, they were there. Hopkins just never really got. He was starting to get going, but then he just got plagued by that bug of injuries, and then getting on painkillers and everything else. Colin Edwards, I mean, he pretty much he was doing very well. I think he just got overshadowed by Nicky a little bit, but I think he really got overshadowed by Speeds. Okay. I think he really got overshadowed when Speeds came in and everything else, and Speeds just kind of overshadowed him a little bit. And I also think that
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say Rossi a little bit because he was like the perfect side, but he wasn't like a killer compared to like Lorenzo coming in and some of these other guys before Edwards.
Edwards was never that kind of killer person. He was a great rider, but he was never that killer. He was never that I'm gonna dominate and come out here and try to win it all. He was never that. Nicky had the racing is racing kind of, I call it. It's like he had that luck of battling or staying consistent. That's where racing comes with. Just stay consistency, and he had that. And you just have to be. You happen to be right there when Rossi had the downfall, and you were, as anything else, as in sports, next man up. Right, right. So I think that was Nicky's saving grace. So, but I just think if you're talking about the three Americans, I think the one that was out of the three, the better ones was Nicky. Edwards was good. He was just never that killer instinct. I think if he had that killer instincts, I think he would have, done a lot more. I think he could have done a lot more. I don't think Hopkins, where he was at, I don't think he would have done that.
Yeah, I mean, you think if Hopkins had better luck, and I mean, I guess we'll find out more because he had he finished fourth in 07. That was his best season. And I guess we'll find out about the injuries in 08 or what's to come and stuff like that because it was tough. I mean, between him, Speeds, these are guys. These are the last guys in MotoGP, and they were plagued with a lot of injuries.
Right. I mean, you got to think, and I think Hayes has said it one time. The chassis on the bike is completely different. It's lightweight. It's easy to flip. It's easy to turn. I think even Garrett said that. So these guys coming into it as American, it was just a different feel for them. They're not used to it. So and then the tire setup, everybody knows the tire setup is different. Your forks are different. That has a big play in it. The flickability, the lightweight of it. It just plays a different game in it. And then, with minimum electronics back then, not like all the electronics we had. I mean, if you high-sided, you damn near high-sided.
Oh, yeah. Those accents back then were crazy to see these guys barrel roll and their high sides. And they were still getting knocked out.
Yeah. There's one race, Laguna Seca, or I wanted, Nicky Hayden won the two previous years, but going into this year, I was so ready for this one. And then first corner, Nicky and Hopkins collided, or something like that. And I was like, damn, that was the end of that. But I think Nicky was definitely the better American, and it's cool just to see him out there for sure. Hopefully, get some more Americans in the game. Need it.
Oh yeah, I hope so, man. Did we miss anything before we get out of here, guys? I think we got a lot in.
No, I don't think anything. No, I think the next season. There is a young guy that's in a lower class that in a few years is going to make a big impact, and then the very next year in 2008, there's going to be a kid that's going to start in 125 that'll eventually be something serious.
Oh, fun time.
So next year is going to be an interesting year.
All right. 2008, people. You heard it. My name is Rex45. It's the Be Forever Cool podcast. We got TJ with 2 Wheels and Coffee. We got Reese with Attack Yamaha. The real Luis Ortega, the numbers guy. Peace.
Peace.